επίβλεψον επί μας. Πέμψον την ευλογία σου την ίσο ταύτη και την ίσο της πατρίδης του εναγής πατρός ημών Σπυρίδωνος του Θαυματουργού, Κύπρον την μαρτυρική και το έθνη παντή, πλουσίαν και προστάτευσον από παντός κινδύνου, ή να ακτινοβολεί το φως του Ευαγγελίου σου και οικουμένη, ελέησον ημάς και τον κόσμο σου άπαντα.
Και μετά θα πάμε κατευθείαν στην εκδήλωση που είναι 100 μέτρα από εδώ.
Είπαμε απόψε, θα κάνουμε λίγο, δεν θα σας ταλαιπωρήσουμε εδώ. Σκοπός μας απόψε που ήρθατε είναι να δείτε όλοι το πίνακα και όλες οι επίσημες εκδηλώσεις είναι δίπλα στο κήπο των Ανακτών. Σας ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ που μας τιμάτε όλοι απόψε με την παρουσία σας. Η Κέρκυρα, μια προέκταση του ελληνικού χώρου προς τη Δύση, αποτελούσε πάντα το σημείο συνάντησης δύο κόσμων, του ελληνικού και του λατινικού, αλλά και σημείο συγκρούσεων για εκείνους που επιθυμούσαν να επεκτείνουν τη δύναμή τους προς τη Δύση. Είναι σπάνιο στο σύνολο των εδαφών της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης να συναντήσει κανείς έναν άλλο χώρο που να συνδυάζει τη συνύπαρξη τόσων πολιτισμών, τόσων κρατικών μορφωμάτων, τόσο διαφορετικών μορφών διοίκησης, αλλά και αρχιτεκτονικής. Το σύνολο των επιρροών, των επιδράσεων και των ποικίλων μορφών συμβίωσης που γνώρισε το νησί, το καθιστούν ένα από τα πιο ενδιαφέροντα μνημεία του ευρωπαϊκού πολιτισμού και έχει μάλιστα το προνόμιο να είναι ζωντανό και να διατηρεί κατά τρόπο μοναδικό, ορατό, τα στοιχεία που το συνθέτουν. Δεν είναι λοιπόν τυχαίο που εφέτος η Κέρκυρα είναι ο τόπος που φιλοξενεί τα 300 χρόνια από την πολιορκία της από τους Τούρκους. Την προσωπογραφία του κόμιτος Ματίας Φοντεσούλεμου με την ευγενική προσφορά του λειψηλέκτη κ. Αθανάσιου Μαρτίνου. Ο κόμις Ματίας Φοντεσούλεμου, ως γνωστόν, ήταν ο Γερμανός αρχιστράτηγος των Βενετικών δυνάμεων στην Κέρκυρα. Την προσωπογραφία αυτή φιλοτέχνησε ο Παναγιώτης Δοξαράς. Ο Παναγιώτης Δοξαράς γεννήθηκε το 1662 στο κουτίχαρι της Μάνης και πέθανε στην Κέρκυρα το 1729. Στο πρόσωπο του ζωγράφου Παναγιώτη Δοξαρά συγκεντρώνονται όλα εκείνα τα στοιχεία για την τέχνη της ζωγραφικής στα Επτάμισα, ώστε να θεωρείται ο θεμελιωτής του επτανησιακού ρεαλισμού. Κατά τον Ανδρέα Μουστοξίδη, κερκυραίο ιστορικό, θεωρείται γενικότερο αναγεννητής της νοελληνικής ζωγραφικής. Ο Παναγιώτης Δοξαράς σπούδασε στη Βενετία και επηρεασμένος από αυτές τις σπουδές είναι ο πρώτος στον ελληνικό χώρο όπου εγκατέλειψε την προσήλωση των αγιογράφων του Βυζαντινού χώρου στη δυσδιάστατη απεικόνιση των μορφών που υπάκουαν σε δογματικούς συμβολισμούς και στράφηκε στην απόδοση της φυσικής τρισδιάστατης αποτύπωσής τους, υιοθετώντας τα προστάγματα της αναγέννησης. Επίσης, επαναστατική θεωρείται για τα τότε ελληνικά δεδομένα η αντικατάσταση πρώτα από αυτών στον ευρύτερο ελληνικό χώρο της αυγοτέμερας από το λάδι και του ξύλου από το μουσαμά. Αλλαγές με τις οποίες, κατά την πλέον παραδεδειγμένη άποψη, αποδίδεται καλύτερα η αίσθηση της ζωγραφικής καθαρότητας και πραγματικότητας. Άλλο ένα μεγάλο έργο του Δοξαρά είναι η ουρανία, δηλαδή οι εικόνες της οροφής της Εκκλησίας του Αγίου Σπυρίδωνος, οι οποία λόγω φθοράς αντικαταστάθηκαν από έργα του Ασπιώτη. Τέλος, μετέφρασε το βιβλίο Τέχνης Ζωγραφίας, που αναφέρεται στην αναγεννησιακή ζωγραφική, με το οποίο εκθέτει τις απόψεις του για τη ζωγραφική της δύσης. Ο Παναγιώτης Δοξαράς, με το έργο του, είναι ένας από τους πρώτους καλλιτέχνες του ελληνικού χώρου, μετά την άλωση, χάρη στον οποίο αρχίζει να πραγματοποιείται η όσμωση του ευρύτερου ελληνικού χώρου με την επανάσταση στην τέχνη και το πνεύμα που συντελέστηκε στη Δύση και στην αναγέννηση και μετά. Σε αυτή τη στιγμή θα ήθελα να ευχαριστήσω το Σωματείο Φίλοι του Ιδρύματος Cohen και ιδιαίτερα τον κύριο Σπύρο Ιτούργα, καθώς και την υπεύθυνη του Τμήματος Τεχνών και Πολιτισμού Αιγαίας ΑΜΚΕ, κυρία Μαρία Μερσινιά. Δίχως την πολύτιμη αρρωγή όλων αυτών, των συνεργατών μου, τούτο το φιλόδοξο εγχείρημα θα ήταν ανέφικτο. And now, ladies and gentlemen, some few words in English. Ladies and gentlemen, and all of our guests, welcome. We are delighted to have you here to participate and share in the 300 years from the siege of Corfu. Thank you for coming. That many of you travel long distance serves to remind us how important this event is. This is the 300 years anniversary of the siege of Corfu by the Ottoman Empire. Our museum is participating in the celebration for this important event. The museum houses a unique portrait of Count Matthias von der Schuleburg, who was the general commander of the Venetian forces in Corfu during the siege and helped to save Corfu from the Ottomans. His portrait was painted by Panagiotis Doxaras, who was born in 1662 in Putifani, Mani, and died in Corfu in 1729. Panagiotis Doxaras is considered the founder of Ionian realism in painting, and the court historian, Andreas Moustopsidis, believes that Panagiotis is the originator of the Greek modern painting. Panagiotis Doxaras studied in Venice and was influenced by what he learned there. He is the first Greek artist known to have constantly abandoned the Byzantine style. He replaced materials made of traditional tempera for oil paint on woods and canvas. Another important work created by Panagiotis Doxaras was the ceiling of St. Spiridion Church, which unfortunately was destroyed and subsequently replaced with a painting by Aspiotis. In this moment, I would like to take this opportunity to express my deep appreciation to the friends of Albert Poet Association, and especially to Mr. Spiros Lucas, and to the director of the Foundation of Egeas, Mrs. Maria Messina. And without the valuable contribution of all these partners, this ambitious venture would never have come to fruition. Thank you for all of you. Maria Messina, who is responsible for this painting, is going to give you a very short speech about the painting and how we have this painting here today.
Professionalism in everything we needed, and of course we wish to congratulate the Foundation Memoir Cohen for organizing this year's events to commemorate the 300th anniversary of the historic victory of the Christian forces against the Ottoman Navy. This immensely important military and political victory not only restrained the advance of the Ottomans in the West, but also restituted Venice's fading prestige. The central figure in this victory being Johann Matthias von der Schulenburg, the general in the service of Venice at that time. For his leadership in the defense of Corfu, he was honored by the Serenissima Timocratia as a hero. In the beginning of the 18th century, Corfu was the most populous among the Ionian Islands, and for sure, one of the motives of General Schulenburg must have been the attraction to the beauties of Corfu, one of the most beautiful islands of the Mediterranean Sea. Additionally, the island was the most important administrative and military center. These two facts, combined with the long-term peace, the years after the victory, and the economic prosperity, are, of course, what caused the appearance of so many famous artists being active in the island. The subject matter of art was by all means influenced. Among them, Panagiotis Doxaras stands out, a celebrated painter considered to be the founder of the Greek school based on the Western European artistic principles. He was entrusted with the decoration of the dome of the Church of Saint Spiridon in Corfu in 1727. This monumental project, now replaced by Nicholas Astriotis' work, was described as the culmination of the Uranias, which means grandiose celestial representations that decorated the domes of the churches. Panagiotis Doxaras was born in 1662 in Koutifari village of Mani district in Peloponnese and died in Corfu in 1729. Born in a small village where a school of religious painting had been established, his involvement with this aspect of art came as no surprise. He left his homeland after its occupation by the Ottomans and settled in the Ionian Islands. He was honored by the Venetian state with the title of Cavaliere for his military bravery against the Ottomans, and with this title he signs this great portrait. While living in the Ionian Islands, his painting incorporated the motifs of Western European art. He translated the key treatises on painting by Leone Battista Alberti and Leonardo da Vinci into Greek. In 1726, he wrote his own manual of painting on his quest of expanding the theoretical roots of the artistic movement he would later create. He suggested drawing ex naturalis, and he explored new oil painting techniques, thus underlying the contrast with previous Byzantine maniera. As portraiture became very popular in the Ionian Islands during the 18th century, a number of painters were commissioned to produce formal, rather stiff portraits of members of aristocracy, wealthy merchants, intellectuals, and clergymen. Panagiotis Doxaras and his son Nikolaos were the official portrait painters. Their work was of early Renaissance portraiture. This portrait by Panagiotis Doxaras of the Saxon town in 1716 is among early examples of 18 very nice portraiture in this island, and probably it was commissioned by Schulenburg himself. Doxaras' family had established connections with the field marshal, the latter being also an avid collector with philosophical and artistic interests. The painter's son lived for 10 years in Venice, being the count's protégé. By happy coincidence, the present owner acquired the portrait of General Schulenburg within this year of the 300th anniversary of the Suez War. The portrait is also illustrated in the volume published on the occasion of an exhibition held in the National Gallery of Athens in Greece in 1998, in which the collection of Ioannis Perdios was exhibited and was written by Melinis Erli and Stelios Milidakis. The previous owner had acquired the painting from Sotheby's in July 3, 1985. In the context of these commemorative celebrations, our principals are happy to present this magnificent portrait of General Schulenburg by Panagiotis Doxaras, the most prominent of the Ionian Islands portrait painters of the time, and make it available to be exhibited in the Museum of Asian Art of Corfu for the sake of the island visitors and the popular public. Thank you very much.
μας συνεχίσετε.
Καλησπέρα κυρίες και κύριοι. Εκ μέρους του Σωματείου Φίλοι του Ιδρύματος Cohen, σας καλωσορίζουμε στη σημερινή εκδήλωση. Είναι τιμή μας που βρίσκεστε εδώ απόψε αυτό το αυγουστιάτικο απόγευμα. Σας ευχαριστούμε. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Association Friends of the Albert Cohen Foundation, we welcome you to this event today. It's our honor to see you all this afternoon. and we sincerely thank you. Η εκδήλωση ξεκίνησε ήδη με συναυλία από τμήμα της Φιλαρμονικής Εταιρείας Κέρκυρα στη Παλαιά. Ακούσαμε ορισμένα κομμάτια του 18ου αιώνα υπό τη διεύθυνση του αρχιμουσικού κύριου Σπύρου Προσωπάρη. Our event started with a concert by a section of the Philharmonic Society of Corfu, which is the earliest musical institution in Greece. We have heard already some pieces by composers of the 18th century, and under the direction of Mr. Spiros Prosoparis, and we can continue enjoying them. πολύ πάντα για αυτά τα υπέροχα ακούσματα. Έχουμε ετοιμάσει ένα μικρό δώρο για τον κύριο Προσωπάρη. Our thanks to the Philharmonic Band for these lovely hearings. We have prepared a small gift for Mr. Prosparis. Thank you. Thanks so much. Τώρα θα ήθελα να προσκαλέσω τον κύριο Σπύρο Γιούργα, τον πρόεδρο του σωματείου μας, να απευθύνει τον ενακτήριο χαιρετισμό. And now I would like to invite Mr. Spiros Yurgas, the president of our association, for his welcome address.
Αγαπητοί φίλες και φίλοι του Ιδρύματος Cohen Κέρκυρας, κυρίες και κύριοι. Καλώς ήλθατε στην εκδήλωσή μας αφιερωμένη σε όλους όσους συνέβαλαν πριν 300 χρόνια στη μεγάλη νίκη κατά των εισβολέων Οθωμανών και ιδιαίτερα σε αυτούς που έδωσαν τη ζωή τους για να είναι σήμερα η Ευρώπη ελεύθερη. Θέλω να ευχαριστήσω τους οργανωτές, χορηγούς και υποστηρικτές της εκδήλωσης, τη Διευθύντρια του Μουσείου Ασιατικής Τέχνης, κυρία Δέσποινα Ζενιώτη, την Πρόεδρο της Πινακοθήκης του Δήμου Κέρκυρας, κυρία Μαρία Μουζακίτη, καθώς και όλο το προσωπικό τους. Επίσης, θέλω να καλωσορίσω και να ευχαριστήσω όλους εσάς που ήρθατε από Ελλάδα, Γερμανία, Αυστρία, Ιταλία, Γαλλία, Βέλγιο, Ολλανδία και αλλού, για να γιορτάσουμε μαζί την επέτειο της περίτρανης νίκης. Dear friends of the Albert Cohen Foundation Corfu, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this event dedicated to those who contribute and to those who gave their lives 300 years ago in order to keep Europe free. I want to thank all the people who organized, financed and supported this celebration. Welcome to all of you who traveled from Greece, Germany, Italy, England, Belgium, Holland, France, Switzerland to celebrate all together the anniversary of this victory and to recognize the genius of Field Marshal Johann Matthias Graf von der Schulenburg. Liebe Freunde aus Deutschland und Österreich, die hier anwesend sind, im Namen der Albert Cohen Stiftung Corfu danke ich Ihnen für Ihre Kommen und begrüße Sie recht herzlich zu der heutigen Veranstaltung. Diese ist alle jenen gewidmet, die während der Belagerung Corfus 1716 teilgenommen, gekämpft und ihr Leben gelassen haben, damit Europa frei ist. Besonders gewidmet ist der heutige Abend der Genie-Feldmarschall Graf Johannes Matthias von der Schulenburg. Zum Schluss möchte ich meinen Freund Fritz von der Schulenburg meinen besonderen Dank für die wertvolle Zusammenarbeit in den vergangenen 2 Jahren aussprechen. Cari amici, voi che avete fatto il viaggio da Venezia per celebrare con noi l'anniversario di questa vittoria di 1716, benvenuti a Corfu. Tengo a ringraziare particolarmente il sindaco di Venezia, il dottor Luigi Brugnaro, grazie al quale abbiamo oggi l'onore e il piacere di avere qui con noi la dottoressa Deborah Onisto, consigliere comunale della città di Venezia. Benvenuti anche al dottor Andrea Grigoletto dell'Istituto Italiano di Castelli e ai membri dei Fratelli della Costa Venezia, che ci hanno fatto l'onore di navigare per noi fino a Corfu a bordo dei loro velieri. È vero che tra Venezia e Corfu è una lunga storia d'amore che desideriamo riprendere oggi tutti insieme. Chers amis et amis de la Fondation Albert Cohen Corfu, je vous remercie d'être venus de France, de Belgique ou de Suisse pour commémorer le 300e anniversaire de la fin du siège de Corfu. Cet événement est dédié à tous ceux qui ont pris part et qui ont donné leur vie pour que l'Europe soit libre aujourd'hui. Ils ont réussi cet exploit grâce au génie de leur général, le Feldmarschall Johann Matthias Comte von der Schulenburg. Permettez-moi de remercier particulièrement notre ami et président de la Fondation Albert Cohen Paris, Maître Max Mamou, qui est venu spécialement de Paris pour être ici. Efraristo, thank you, dankeschön, grazie, merci.
Σας ευχαριστούμε πολύ κύριε Γιούρα. Και για τη συνέχεια, ο λόγος στην κυρία Ντεμπορανίστο, την εκπρόσωπο του Δημάρχου Βενετίας. Thank you so much, Mr. Juras. And we can continue now with the representative of the municipality of Venice, Ms. Deboranista.
Città di Corfu, famiglia Schulenburg, Fondazione Albert Cohen. Come consigliera del Consiglio Comunale di Venezia sono davvero onorata di essere qui e portarvi i saluti del Sindaco della città di Venezia, Luigi Brugnaro, che è consapevole del passato comune che condividiamo e dell'importanza di essere qui oggi a rappresentare la città e le antiche gesta della Serenissima. Sono qui con voi per ricordare il 300° anniversario della fine dell'assedio di Corfù, che servì ad arrestare l'avanzata dei turchi verso occidente e impedì per sempre il loro ingresso nel mare Adriatico, garantendo un lungo periodo di pace alla Serenissima. Sono emozionata anche pensando a quanto è stato importante a quel tempo per la Repubblica di Venezia e per l'Europa nel suo insieme. Il feldmaresciallo John Matthias Schulenburg fu accolto a Venezia nell'autunno del 1716 come un eroe, un grande condottiero, che diventò famosissimo in tutta Europa del Settecento per il coraggio e l'intelligenza strategica dimostrata nell'impresa compiuta. Se l'isola veneziana di Corfù fosse caduta nelle mani dell'impero turco, gran parte dell'Europa cristiana si sarebbe trovata in un gravissimo rischio. I veneziani di allora conoscevano bene cosa significasse l'avanzata degli eserciti islamici, avendo nella loro memoria la caduta verso la fine del 400 dell'Albania veneta e cristiana di fronte alla potenza turca. La vittoria di Corfù nel 1716, ottenuta da pochissime migliaia di veneziani contro decine di migliaia di combattenti turchi, consentì all'esercito del principe Eugenio di Savoia di sconfiggere definitivamente le armate nemiche nella battaglia di Peterbardino in Serbia. Lo Schulenburg, con il grido di battaglia per Cristo e Venezia, fece intendere al mondo intero che a Corfù si era combattuto e aveva vinto certamente per la difesa di Venezia, ma anche per tutta la civiltà occidentale e cristiana. Sono passati esattamente 300 anni dall'impresa di Corfù e ciò nonostante non è difficile, purtroppo, cogliere analogie drammatiche tra quanto accadeva allora e quanto accade oggi proprio negli stessi luoghi, nello stesso mare, il Mediterraneo, attraversato da migliaia di persone che arrivano nei nostri paesi cercando rifugio in Europa. Vi ringrazio per avermi fatto partecipare a questo momento che ricorda John Matthias Schulenburg, che qualcuno chiamò un uomo di mondo senza macchia e senza paura. Noi veneziani lo ricordiamo come una personalità veramente affascinante, come un protagonista assoluto di un'epoca decisiva per la nascita dell'Europa moderna, come una figura che unisce in una storia collettiva tutti noi qui presenti stasera come tedeschi, veneziani e colfiotti. Lo ricordiamo non solo per le sue gesta eroiche, ma anche per l'attività di straordinario collezionista d'arte e di incredibile mecenate che dette illuminato sostegno a tutti i più grandi artisti di Venezia del primo Settecento e del quale dell'Arsenale costruiamo un magnifico monumento funebre. Concludo dicendo che trovarmi qui oggi rappresenta per me e per Venezia non solo un momento di condivisione della nostra storia, ma anche la consapevolezza che la stessa viene costantemente ricordata dai nostri paesi con la stessa intensità, importanza e soprattutto con la stessa fede. Grazie. Grazie. Venezia, un present for President Fondazione Mr. Cohen. Sindaco. Il Sindaco di Venezia omaggia il President Spiros di una cartografia che rappresenta la nascita di Venezia ed è esposta al Museo Correre, è una rappresentazione grafica che è esposta al Museo Correre di Venezia e è stata riprodotta L'originale di tale mappa è custodita al Museo Corale di Venezia, questa è una riproduzione fedele.
Συνέχεια το λόγο έχει ο κύριος Ανδρέα Γκριγκολέτο, εκπρόσωπος του Ινστιτούτο Ιταλιάνο dei Castelli της Βενετίας. Now I would like to ask Mr. Andrea Grigoletto, the representative of the Istituto Italiano dei Castelli of Venice, to address his speech.
Dear President Giurgas, authorities, family members of the Schulenburg family, dear Greek, Venetian, and European friends. I am honored to represent the Italian Castle Institute at this ceremony, commemorating the glorious victory at Corfu in 1716, in which Venetian troops, far outnumbered in soldiers and weaponry, resisted against the siege of the city and defeated the far larger Ottoman fighting force. The Italian Castle Institute is the most important Italian institute dedicated to the history of military architecture. Our glossary of terms related to fortresses architecture is seated in the SIEG album, which my friend Spiros has kindly given me. The presence of our institute at Corfu marks the important role played during the siege by the Venetian forts, Forte Vecchio and Forte Nuovo, which Field Marshal Johann Matthias von der Schulenburg himself determined to restore on his arrival at Corfu. We celebrate them here. But another motive brings me here as well. What remains of the siege after 300 years? The memory in our hearts. Of course, the painstaking research carried out by a number of fine scholars, some of whom are present here today. And the stones of the forts, palaces, arsenals, and fountains of the Serenissima, which have withstood the flow of time. I have come here to launch an urgent appeal so that these monuments may be protected, defended, and preserved, and likewise the memory of those who experienced them and endowed them with a soul. Above all, Field Marshal Johann Matthias von der Schulenburg. All too often beginning with my beloved city Venice, spreading throughout the Adriatic, the Ionian, even as far as the most remote islands of the Aegean. These monuments are ignored, abandoned, or used for purposes incompatible with their nature of testimonials to civilization, as expressed of Italian cultural law. All of us, Venetian, Greeks, Cypriots, Croatians, inhabitants of the Bay of Kotor, Albanians, European, must strive day by day so that these treasures can be not only preserved and restored, but also promoted through activity capable of offering jobs to our children and stimulating the economy at this moment of harsh economic crisis. But we must act fast. Our chances are literally slipping like sand through our fingers. European funding for 2014-2020 for the relaunching of the cultural heritage must be used for effective projects allowing us to open work cities as soon as possible, with an eye to authentic transborder collaboration and partnership. The master plan for qualifying the Venetian work of defense between the 5th and the 15th and the 17th centuries as part of the UNESCO World Cultural Heritage, but be expanded immediately. Besides the present participants, Italy, Croatia and Montenegro, we must also bring in Greece, Cyprus and Albania. It is inconceivable that the Ionian Islands and Crete, which hosted the Venetian presence for hundreds of years, should be excluded from a project promising to create international visibility and inestimable economic gain. Finally, the governments of countries facing onto the Mediterranean must find the strength to carry out wide-ranging cultural and touristic initiatives, going beyond contingencies of a merely economic or financial nature. In conclusion, I should like to mention one aspect which today causes a sort of embarrassment. We must forcefully insist that the victory of the 1516 was a victory of the West. Field Marshal John Matthias von der Schulenburg and the Venetian troops prevented the Ottoman forces from conquering the Adriatic, with consequences that might have vanished any action by Eugene of Savoy in the Balkans. While the end of the Ottoman expansion in Europe necessarily calls up the name of Peter Vardain, it should also bring to mind that of Corfu and Field Marshal John Matthias von der Schulenburg. At a moment in history in which one speaks of Untergang des Alpenlandes, reference to Oswald Spengler is fully intentional here, special tribute is due to those who long ago lost their yacht, their health, and in many cases their life, in order to defend their idea of society and the world polity. Long life the West, long life Venice, long life Corfu.
Thank you very much. Your President. Yes, of course, please.
Historical book of all the fortresses in the Venetian lagoon is a present for you. Is from Italian History Institute, the Office of Venice. For you.
Και για τη συνέχεια το λόγο έχει ο κύριος Gianni Burigana, αξιωματούχος των Fratelli della Costa της Βενετίας. I would like to invite Mr. Gianni Burigana, the Lieutenant of the Fratelli della Costa Venetian Board.
Dear Doctor, permit me to speak in Venetian language. Illustrissimi signori, amici della Fondazione Albert Cohen, illustrissimi signori discendenti del grande feldmaresciallo, permettetemi di ringraziarvi della possibilità di essere qua a condividere questo momento grande di celebrazione. Una condivisione che noi altri stiamo vivendo e sentendo forte, passando per le caie di Corfu, che sentiamo parlare e rusegare che a lingua greca, che a lingua italiana, e parlare tedesco, e parlare savon. E questo come 300 anni fa. Ma adesso non c'è più sentire ordini secchi e il trepidare del combattimento, c'è serenità, c'è amicizia, c'è condivisione. Ma mi penso forte che se 300 anni fa quei pochi contro i tanti non avesse vinto, ora, adesso, non sentiressimo parlare tanto di serenità, tanto di amicizia. Non avressimo quella percezione forte di quello che noi altri chiamiamo moderni diritti civili, che sentimo condivisione e libertà di culto, libertà di religione, libertà di pensiero. Penso che se quei pochi contro i tanti non avesse vinto, la storia sarebbe stata diversa. Il percorso della libertà della Grecia sarebbe stato più difficile, più lungo, più complesso. Permettetemi di ricordare anche, oltre a questo momento forte di condivisione di un fatto storico, un momento forte politico. 80 anni dopo quel momento che stiamo celebrando, nel 1797, l'anno tragico che Venezia si cascata, che è stata l'eclissi della millenaria storia della nostra Repubblica, tornava qua a Cipro, qua a Corfu, tornava un grande veneziano, un grande corfiota, Giovanni Capodistria. Mi piace pensare che un tocco forte di quella Repubblica, di quella saggezza politica, di quella capacità di gestire le leggi, condizioni essenziali di libertà individuale e dell'individuale del popolo, sia passata come un'eredità, come una continuità a Corfu, alla Grecia libera. Permettetemi pertanto di ricordare questo mio concittadino, questo vostro concittadino. Viva San Marco, viva Corfu greca libera. Grazie. Piccolo regalo da dare al nostro.
Thank you very much. Your present.
Adesso vorrei dare un regalo io. Questo è partito. Questo è il simbolo del nostro club, della nostra associazione, e questo è un libro di arte veneta, di illustrazione. Pesa e ciao, ti ringrazio.
Μπορούμε να συνεχίσουμε με την ομιλία του καθηγητή Johann Matthias Graf von der Schulenburg εκ μέρους της οικογένειας. We can now continue with the speech of Dr. Johann Matthias Graf von der Schulenburg on behalf of the family. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Johann Matthias Graf von der Schulenburg, and I'm the president of the Association of the Schulenburg family. The Schulenburg family has about 170 members. And I'm very proud that 81 members of the Schulenburg family came to Corfu this time to celebrate with you the victory of the European troops over the Turkish army which came to Corfu. You may have recognized that my name is quite similar to the one of the Field Marshal. And also when I look at this painting of Kérkyras, which you have seen outside, which is marvelous actually in size and in quality, you see that also our noses are quite similar. But to tell the truth, he's not named after me, I'm named after him, like a couple of other Schulenburgs in my family. The victory in 1716 saved Europe of becoming Turkish and Islamic. And as one consequence of that, Corfu was the only part of modern Greece which never became Turkish. Historical knowledge is very important to understand current times. And that's why the work of the Cohen Foundation, the Albert Cohen Foundation, is so important. And I really admire the work which all the volunteers of this foundation have done to have this event which we have today happen. I'm really touched being here because I was here 50 years ago with my parents when there was the 250th anniversary. My deceased father, Werner Schulenburg, was at that time the president of the Schulenburg family, and we were about 50 members who came to Corfu. So we have really improved till then. My mother, Rosemarie, who is still alive and is 96 years old, is now the oldest member of our family. She would have loved to come with us, but unfortunately she is not in that bad well health so that she could do it. At that time I was only 16 years old. Now you see I have gray hairs and a little bit older. We had a wonderful time at that time, 50 years ago, at here on your beautiful island. A lot of things have changed, but what not has changed is the beauty of the island and the warmth and the wonderful people who live on this island who are so friendly, which we have experienced right now again. My predecessor as president of our family, Paul Werner von der Schulenburg, will speak in a minute about the Field Marshal and his life. But before I open the floor and give the floor to him, I would like to express my great thanks to our hosts from Corfu for their hearty welcome and for their brilliant organization of this event, which took about 2 years to happen. We are overwhelmed by you and by all what you have done for us. And to express our thanks to you, I brought with me the highest medal of our family. It's this one, which is given to distinguished people who have done great deeds for the family. Less than 10 people has received this award up till now. So it's a seldom piece, and please don't sell it via eBay or so. Keep it a little bit longer, it will keep the value. I would like to ask Spiros Georgias to come to me, and I would like to give it our family medal as a memory of your... Thank you very much.
Την κεντρική ομιλία θα απευθύνει ο κύριος Πολ Βέντερ von der Schulenburg. I'm now delighted to invite for the keynote speech Mr. Paul Werner von Rodeskullerburg.
Mr. George and Mrs. Onisto, dear all. Thank you for giving me the chance to briefly honor one of our most famous family members in this wonderful environment. I'm Paul Werner von der Schulenburg and not an historian. I only collected stories about Johann Matthias during my 30 years period of being the chairman of the family association. Stories about famous men, or women of course, do very often have the rank of myths. As you all know, myths are a set of history where people have agreed upon. Some say it's a list of lies people have agreed upon. I'm sure we have in this group a lot of specialists in this field. For instance, the daughter of the man who wrote a novel about the king of Corfu. She is here tonight. Or we have descendants from the sister, the brother of the field marshal here tonight. According to the program, I'm now the 6th speaker. What does it mean? First, horrible for all who are waiting for a cocktail. Second, as Johann Matthias mentioned already, if you give the Schulenburg the floor, he never will stop talking. And finally, my presentation in German and English was given to the organizers in December last year. I do accept that they wanted me only to give you a brief summary of this presentation, because a keynote speaker has to reduce his presentation to a few arguments of principal relevance. That I will do now for 2 hours. Let me do 3 statements. First, Matthias Johann's life reflects success and defeats of a gentleman of the 18th century. Second, the situation in Europe in the year 1700 and today are still similarities. And finally, Matthias Johann's life allows conclusions for today. First, Matthias Johann's life. Matthias Johann was born 1661 at a small and, after 30 years war, relatively impoverished estate near Magdeburg. He was the eldest son of an old, established noble family. One of his younger sisters was to become the mistress of the electoral Prince of Hanover, who later was crowned King George I of England, whom we will hear later about with relevance to Corfu. His father was a man with limited assets, although he later held significant positions in the Brandenburg government and the Hohenzollern family. Thus, he was able to provide the children a good education. And so Matthias Johann and his younger brother received private tutoring. He got university education at a local university, and finally in Saumur in Paris in France, where he studied mathematics, French and Latin until he was 24 years. During this time in France, Central Europe was attacked on two fronts. From the west by Louis XIV, Louis XIV, and from the south by the Ottoman Empire. The brothers studying in Paris didn't care about that. They continued their study, and I quote, to complete their formal and cultural education, with the result that Matthias Johann was arrested for 3 months until his brother had paid off their schooling debts. However, this constellation of political and military power, France and the Ottoman Empire, influenced the life of Matthias Johann completely for 62 years. The first 30 years military experience on behalf of 4 sovereigns. He was the sovereign Duke of Brunswick, that's an area right now in the north of Germany, then the Savoy, then Saxonia, Poland, and of course the Holy Roman Empire. With military actions against these Ottoman Empire, France, Sweden, and I must say for those of who live in Bavaria, also against Bavaria. But he lost the battle when the Bavarians took place. The second part, with 32 years of service for the Republic of Venice, mainly against the Ottoman Empire. After his triumph here in Corfu, he concentrated on a strategy that is extremely modern, defense by deterrence. He put all his energy into the further fortification of Corfu. He convinced the Venetian Serenissima to start economic programs here in Corfu with the olive trees. It's a little bit difficult. I can't read actually my paper. And so he enjoyed contacts, diplomatic actions on European level, and became one of the leading collectors of 18th century European art. Let me go briefly short in 4 terms, the first 30 years. He started in 1685 with 12 years in service of the Brunswick. And in this area, it's a local, tiny little area, he had his first experience against the Ottoman Empire on the Balkan as a young man, and again his first experience against French armies. In both parts, his term was extremely successful. And the Duke of Brunswick realized this and sent him into the first diplomatic mission already with 29 years EU-wide. And later on, he was promoted to colonel, and again he had military success against the French on the Rhine River. And after the Leipzig Peace Congress, which ended the War of Palestine Succession, some came to him, the Savoy envoy, and asked him whether he would like to join the Savoy service. So he did it. And out of this period, I just would like to mention one funny thing, how Europe worked in those days. His boss, they say, the Duke of Savoy, had switched allegiance from the German emperor to the King of France, which was unknown, and which was definitely not in this interest of Matthias Johann. But he had to be loyal. He was all his life loyal to his sovereigns. So Schulenburg found himself in a curious situation. At the Battle of Chiari in northern Italy in 1701, he served in Savoy's army with his German infantry and fighting for the French king, he didn't like, in the War of Spanish Succession against Austrians, the Holy Roman Empire, with the German army under Prince Eugen. This means that the first contact between both gentlemen was not very friendly. Then he joined the electoral Saxonian and Polish service. And to just give brief, he fought against this 20 years old Charles XII of Sweden in Poland, and actually he was defeated. And as commander-in-chief of the Saxonian quota within the Imperial German Army, he was against Louis XIV at the Rhine, and against then the United French and Bavarian Army, where he was defeated. But important, therefore I mentioned that, important for this period was that his reputation in Europe wide was he became a specialist in rearguard actions or retreat, which was important when he later joined the Venetian army. Also, a man in those days had problems to earn his money. So he was jobless for a period of 4 years. And so he was very happy when the envoy in Vienna in November 1714 came to him and asked him whether he would like to join the Venetian service. Venetian Republic, as we all know, was at war with the Ottoman Turks and had suffered several defeats on land and especially at sea. The negotiations with Schulenburg were lengthy because the Venetian Republic was reluctant to accept his terms. He was a player, gambler. It was not until Venice had been repeatedly defeated by the Turks and Prince Eugen intervened that an agreement was reached. Schulenburg entered into the Venetian Republic nearly after 1 year conversation or discussion on the 15th of October 1715. He went down to Corfu, and his first contact was that he had big trouble with the Venetian Senate. Why? When he saw the situation here in Corfu, he said, well, we have to increase our army from 18,000 to 40,000. And that defense effort should initially center around this island and to protect the attic from a Turkish invasion. He got into his first disagreement, really, which was very strong. And there was the usual conflict between military and the politics, which lasted still in all countries, still today. During the following 6 months, he managed to boost the troop morale here on the island and improve the fortifications, so it was a difficult task in light of the lack of skilled workers. That was the biggest problem, to have the skilled worker to do all the need for fortification. The battle with the far superior Ottoman Turks began in mid-July and ended on 21st of August. The fortune of that war were shaky and threatened to turn against the Venetians. Despite enormous efforts on the part of Schulenburg, the losses were relatively low. On 14 August, 8 English cargo vessels with 1,000 men arrived as reinforcement. Evidently, Schulenburg's sister Ehrengard Melusine had again used her courses of action, let's say pillow talk, to persuade the English king to help out her brother. Their defenses stabilized over the next few days. The English made a sally, and Schulenburg personally joined his troops in 6 counterattacks. As a result, the Turks lost 5,000 out of 16,000 troops, and a miracle happened. The artillery fire fell silent on the night, the 21st of August. Everyone believed that the Turks were going to launch a decisive attack. Venetian reconnaissance patrols cautiously inspected the deserted Turkish outposts. Next day, Schulenburg realized that the Turks had made a hasty retreat from the island. After 45 days siege, the Turks had lost 8,000 men and the Venetians had lost 1,500. From then on, Schulenburg was known as the victor of Corfu. Naturally, we have to ask ourselves why the Turks suddenly fled from Corfu. It cannot be only the reason that the Venetians under Schulenburg's command had fought so bravely that it happened only for this reason, or that most of the Turkish fleet had been destroyed on the storm. The fact that the English king had provided assistance wasn't the main reason either. I think the real reason was probably that 2 weeks previously, Prince Eugen had won a decisive battle against the main Turkish army on the Balkan in Peterwardein. Europe celebrated Prince Eugen, so Schulenburg's success was overshadowed by him. And the years later, Schulenburg concentrated really on Corfu, and he spent 15 years building the Corfu fortress into one of Europe's strongest fortresses. 70-year-old Schulenburg had intended to retire in October 1733, when the war between the Kingdom of Sardinia and Austria broke out. He set up headquarters in Verona. Although he kept Venice out of the war, he was unable to prevent some Venetian territories being destroyed by French Sardinian troops. Without active interfering in the military operation during that time, especially together with the empire, Schulenburg lived out the rest of his days in Verona, where he died at the age of 85. He was given a ceremonial funeral at the San Giorgio Maggiore monastery in Venice. Venetian Senate decided to build a tomb in his honor to the Venetian arsenal. So his body was moved there, and it was remained there up to the present day. Conclusions: the life of Matthias Johann reflects defeat and successes on a European level. Europe today can learn from the situation 300 years ago. At the turn of the 17th, 18th century, Europe was extremely fragmented in states or independent regions. Today, we have about 30 states and several institutions of democratic origin in Europe. At the turn of the 18th century, France and the Ottoman Empire were the dominant threat to Central Europe, or may I say to Europe at all. Today, we feel a threat from Russia and Turkey, the successor of the Ottoman Empire. At the turn of the 18th century, wars within Europe were normal. Today, within the 30 states of Europe, war is beyond our imagination. The means of warfare have been developed since 1700, obviously. 300 years ago, on the battlefield, victory or defeat was dependent from the professional skills of a military leader. Today, we have a battle for the minds, politically and religiously, with smartphones and internet. The Turks will no more come with swords, not per horses or per pedis, but with minibus and families. Islam is still extremely successful with prayer and terror, as Peace Prize winner of the German book trade 2011 stated, an Algerian poet, which, oh wonder, is still alive. What can we learn? It seems to me extremely important to have political leaders who accept the situation when the threat is posed on their country, as it did the Venetian Senate, and accept the military leader and his professional excellence as Matthias Schulenburg. Finally, Matthias' life allows conclusion for today, at least for our family. What are the conclusions? Beyond the personal lifestyle of the nobility in those days. I think important is he was born on an estate in a poor region where we all come from. He was not a social climber. He started with an international education. He learned his profession from bottom up. He always had close relationship to the decision makers and solved their problems. He was personally involved in what he was doing. He enjoyed good health, which attributed to, I quote, moderation in all pleasures. And now, my add, for logical reasons, he was never married. He had a great sense for his family, and he was loyal with his sovereigns. So he refused, after his victory in Corfu, the offers from Vienna and Berlin to take over the command of their special forces. He rather served the Republic of Venice with great loyalty, starting with the Olive program here in Corfu and helping Venice in difficult diplomatic missions. Conclusion. Matthias Johann is one of the very few European field marshals who, as commanding officers of a multinational army, had protected Europe from an Ottoman invasion. Corfu and Germany have one experience in common. Both never had been occupied by the Ottoman Empire through this empire, though this empire, the Ottoman Empire, between 1529 and 1791, this means for 260 years, within this period, for 80 years, tried to occupy both. I hope this belongs to our collective memory, and that we will find leading person of the statue of Matthias Johann in Europe who are able on short notice to protect us with modern means from the attack from two aggressive fronts. History is a good teacher. The life of Matthias Johann also. Thank you.
Σε αυτό το σημείο, λίγο πριν το κλείσιμο της εκδήλωσης, θα θέλαμε να εκφράσουμε τις ευχαριστίες μας στους χορηγούς μας, προσφέροντας ορισμένα αναμνηστικά. To this point, just before the closing, we would like to sincerely thank our sponsors by offering some gifts. An important sponsor was Bodosaki Foundation, represented by Mr. Dimitris Vlastos. Καταρχάς, θα θέλαμε να ευχαριστήσουμε το Ίδρυμα Bodosaki, που εκπροσωπείται από τον πρόεδρό του, τον κύριο Δημήτρη Βλαστό. Παρακαλώ. I invite Mr. Fritz von Schulerburg for his present, please. Are you ready to give your closing speech? Yes? To invite everybody for the cocktail? Yes?
Ladies and gentlemen, I think the Field Marshal would smile when seeing tonight more than 80 Schulenburgs coming to this place. And I think he would equally smile when seeing as many and more of the descendants of his comrade and friends from Corfu coming to this place. He would probably tell all of us not to making too much noise about it, because it was his character that he said, I'm just doing my duty. He would, I'm pretty sure, he would invite Spiros Georgias, my friend, to becoming his chief of staff. And I want to say thank you so much, Spiros. He would definitely want his family to invite his Corfield friends for drinks and for a cocktail. And it's my pleasure and my honor on behalf of the Schulenburg family to do that. So we would like to invite all of you, after listening to a number of very interesting speeches, we would like to invite all of you for drinks here in the garden, and we hope that we may mingle around and learn each other and enjoy the evening. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Κέρκυρα, για την ζωή της βάρη, sappiamo che il figlio, anzi quando vedo